Hi, this layout I'm going to show you is called Country Comfort Quilt, and I've gone ahead and pre-done some of the page beforehand and pre-cut some of the pieces just to save on time. So you will need to start with a sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock, and then a designer piece of paper or a pattern vellum if you like. And you will need to cut off your pattern paper. You need to trim with a 12-inch trimmer, 1/2 inch on one side, rotate it, and then do 1/2 inch on the next side, and keep those 2 1/2-inch strips to put aside. We're going to use them later on. So then once you've done that, you need to adhere your paper to your backing cardstock, and that'll give you this nice frame that you can see here. Then this layout works perfectly with a single photo, or you could use the center as a title if you wanted to, but if you're using a photo, it'll need to be cut 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches and then matted on a mat that's 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. So, and once you've done that, you need to make sure it's adhered absolutely center of your page, because that's going to be your focal point. So you need to measure it to get, I used my mat and a ruler to make sure that it was going to be exactly in the middle. By using the 13 by 13 inch mat, you're able to get it exactly where it needs to be. So once you've done that, the next step, using a contrasting paper, designer paper, I'm using the Homestead collection. Now that we've mounted our designer paper onto the back of our cardstock, the next part we need to do is to cut all of our designer papers for this layout. Now you will have had leftover 1/2-inch strips from the piece of wood grain designer paper that was mounted to the black cardstock. So we're going to put those to good use. So using our 12-inch trimmer, we are going to cut 4 1/2 inch wide by 3.5 inches long. Pop that down there so you can see. Oops. One. Two. Three. And the last one. Put that to one side. So they're all of our little strips that we're going to mount onto another piece. So that's all done, ready to go. Pop that to one side. Now our next piece, this is going to mount our 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch photo. So if we cut a square 3 3/4, get that lined up correctly. By 3 3/4. And that is now ready to mount our photo. Next part we need to cut is, I'm going to use this colour for around the edges of the photos, and it needs to be 1.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. Let me put that down so you can see. Lined up. By 3 3/4. And we need to cut 4 of those. I love the colours in this homestead pack. Just amazing. And one more. So once you've got all the cutting done, it's really quite simple to put it all together. Our next one is going to be done out of this paper, and we need to cut 2 squares, 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And cut 2 of them. Now if you stack them both up together as such, this trimmer can easily go through several layers of paper. So we want to line up the peaks with our cutting line so we get them exactly into 2 equal triangles. Make sure that's cut all the way through. Right, and we'll end up with 4 triangles for our corners. Now we're going to cut our 8 triangles, and they've been cut 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inches. So we need to cut 4 and then turn them diagonally as we'd previously done with the large triangles. And if you noticed, I'm using the opposite side of my floral paper, which is a lovely contrast. Now we're going to, I'll do two of them at a time. Cut our squares into triangles. So like before, I'm going to stack 2 of them, line them up perfectly. Oops, there's 4 cut. And our other 2. This trimmer could go through all 4 pieces of paper, but I think you just want to make sure it's not going to slide. So so you get accurate triangles. Okay, and that's our 8 triangles all cut. And we only have one more cut to do, and using this lovely golden colour paper out of the Art Nouveau paper pack, I need to cut 2 squares, 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. I think this is such a beautiful, rich paper. Just make sure that's lined up properly. So we have an accurate cut. And we only need to cut 2 of these. 1, 2, and once again we will do exactly the same thing because they need to be triangles. Stack them, line them up, make sure that they're lined up accurately with the lines on your mat, and cut. And you will have 4 pieces. Now all of our pieces have been cut and we are ready. Just put those together so you can have a look, to start putting our layout together. Oops. And we have all of our pieces ready to go. Now to put it all together is you'll need to cut 4 strips that are 1.5 inches by 3 3 3/4 inches, sorry, 1.5 by 3 3/4 inches long, and they're going to adhere to all 4 sides. So remember how I said we were going to use the leftover 1/2 inch paper that was left over? So that's off my edges, and I've already pre-cut them, and we're going to cut 4 strips that are 1/2 inch wide by 3.5 inches long, and we're going to adhere these to one edge of our wider 3 3/4 by 1.5 inch piece that we've previously cut. So let's go ahead and adhere those. I've already gone ahead and prepared the rest of it just as a time saving thing. So once you have it like that, we're going to adhere those to the page. If you keep a nice little gap, you'll see the wood grain come through, and it will end up looking like a quilting page. Line it up. And when this layout is finished, it looks very impressive, but it is very, very simple. Okay, once we have that done, our next step is we're going to create large triangles for these corners. Now you need to cut 2 squares of designer pattern paper. I chose a floral because I think the floral looks fantastic and it's very quilting. And they need to be cut 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Once you've cut them, once you have the square, you'll need to cut them on the diagonal, and so you end up with 4 triangles such as this. And then once you have your 4 triangles, they will adhere to the corners. So let's go ahead and do those. Cutting these make it really, really simple and easy with our 12-inch trimmer, and it is very precise and really easy to use. So once we've done all that, our next part is we're going to add little triangles in these sections here. So you will need to cut 4 squares that are 2 1/4 by 2 1/4, and once we do that, the squares are going to sit into this void here. So just show you how that's going to go. You can see how that's going to go, and it's already taking shape. So, and if you're choosing a paper, choose a paper with a fantastic contrast. So this is the other side of this. You can see it, but it has this fantastic contrast. And so I'm able to use the same sheet. Oops. I think pattern choice is everything. If you pick the right papers, whoops, it will come together really beautifully. Now don't worry about this here, because we're going to place another triangle here, so that won't matter. This layout would look fantastic for perfect family photo in the middle. I'm using a fun one of some of our friends, but it would look fantastic if you used a professional family shot, or just a fun family shot of everyone together. I think that'd look gorgeous. A little bit closer. Last 2 to go. So this yellow piece had, it's from our Art Nouveau, and it had a pattern on it, but it was an evenly spaced pattern. So there's a bit of a learning lesson. Make sure your pattern is evenly spaced. And you can see how where it crossed over, once you put the triangle down, you cannot even see those edges underneath that cross over. They become covered. Get that nice and even. I have done up some instructions for these. I think I said in my instructions, because I created this design a couple of years ago. I think I said in my instructions that you should put the large corners in first, but now doing it again, I think really if you put these pieces in around, then everything will fit into place. So if you are wanting a copy of the instructions and you'd like to give this layout a go, please contact me. I'm Jackie, through my Creative Memories Queensland page, and I'd be more than happy to share those with you. Now, the last thing to do on this layout is to add some embellishment, and I've picked out a couple that I thought would go really well together. So go well with this layout, because I think you don't want to cover up the patchwork part of it. You want to be able to see all that. So I thought we might pop that to the top. And then this was an embellishment out of the Homestead embellishment pack, and because it had that timber edge, I want to place it here, and I didn't want it to blend into that. So I've used another piece of the reverse side of this one, actually, Homestead paper, and used the middle size custom cutting system circle and the red blade on the inside to cut my circle to mount it onto. So I think it just then stops it blending in so much. But if you have any questions, please ask. I'm here to help, and thank you.